Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Back for Survivor 1 through 50 for everybody's favorite season, Survivor Thailand. And once again, Jonathan is back. And of course, we have to have our Chaos Gremlin, Joe, here for the least chaotic season of Survivor.
Yeah. Oh, man. I was not excited to have to rewatch the season. I'm just going to say I prolonged it so long. I've known about this for so long, and I kept delaying the rewatch of it because I just did not want to watch the season.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. I'm glad I got my rewatch out of the way like a while ago. And I'm just like, I'm not touching this again.
I thought I was never going to have to watch it again. So thanks a lot, Jake, for getting me on this.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it, and then we'll kind of touch on some behind-the-scenes stuff for Thailand. So why did you guys want to discuss Thailand?
Joe, you can go first.
Okay, I'll go. So I have like a little bit, I guess, of special connection to the season in the sense that I played on Survivor Vanquish Candyland, and one of my closest allies was Tanya from the season. So I got to talk to her a lot, chat with her, and so it was cool to be able to see her, watch the season again now with kind of like that fresh perspective of who she is as a person, and like being pretty upset yet again when she goes out because I'll just say also, there's been other people who've been sick on the show and they really make a huge case of it. This one, it does feel like she's sick, but like she could easily have muscled through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And it seems like Tanya was actually just super well liked by everybody, including the winner, Brian Heidik, who we'll get to. But Tanya was amazing on Survivor Vanquish Candyland. For those that don't know, obviously we've all played Vanquish. And so Tanya made it to 4th place, was the fallen angel of Vanquish Candyland, and probably could have won that season. So she got to prove herself, which was really cool.
Yeah, she did a flip that also screwed me over in that game, so
She did.
But we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about Jonathan, what about you?
Well, this one was obviously next on the list, and so I signed up for it. And so I kind of wanted to view it. Oh, excuse me. I might have to sneeze in a second, so somebody say pineapple. But like, I viewed this season as like a challenge to review it because nobody wants to talk about the seasons that they don't like. But at the same time, though, you have to get through them to get to it's one giant story, one giant saga of a show that you have to progress through to get to the next thing. And so I personally took it as a challenge to see if there's anything good that we can find out of it. But at the same time, though, I also want to know, I think we all know like why people generally dislike the season. But I just want to kind of like rehear it and like go through that process again to figure it out, because there's other seasons that I think were really bad as well. But I think this was the first bad season of Survivor in the All-Star era, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, in the All-Star era, yeah, for sure. I think it's like the uncomfortability of like the Ted and Gandia situation. That's big part of it, honestly, in that pre-merge. And then it's just like, I feel like this cast as a whole is just very unlikable. The
Mhm.
gameplay is boring. You're not getting like any of these crazy moves to like offset the fact that you don't like most of this cast. And
Yeah.
so it's just difficult to get through. Do I think there's still some fun stuff to joke about character wise? Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
a couple things, but like, I don't know, like it's not the worst thing I've ever seen on television, but it's just the worst season of Survivor in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. There were some like some of the more purple edited characters who I actually enjoyed more on a rewatch than I did on like a first go. Like I actually think Ken, for instance, is actually like could be a pretty good Survivor player in like a modern day format, and it's not just like, oh, let's just put Gahn because your side is going into the merge down in number, so let's just take him out. I think in a modern format, he really could have made a much deeper run.
I agree with that. Ken is interesting. We can talk about him a little bit later too. I mean, I like Jake. I think
I did like Jake. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he actually, like, on rewatches, you can tell, like, he actually had game. It's just that nobody wanted to listen to him. So.
Because other players on Chuay Gahn had, like, their own game. Like, he was calling people out, and they're like, you're going to be the last Sook Jai that we vote out because you're not, like, a threat whatsoever.
Right.
Which is a very basic Survivor strategy. I think it's just there's a big aura around this season on, like, why it was so disliked, which goes into the whole idea of we also see a lot of firsts too in this. I think this is the first season where I think Jeff actually starts narrating challenges because he's like, this is ridiculous. It's like he's like, Rob just grabbed Clay by the throat and threw him in the water. He was just so disheveled by like what's happening. And this is also the first season where Jeff narrates the finale.
Yes.
Which is a staple ever since. So there are a lot of like key moments that happened in this season that would stick for the rest of the show too, and then we will obviously get into the quality of cast and characters as we progress.
Yes.
So again, Jake, you might get your wish. This might be the shortest episode.
I definitely think it's going to be one of the shortest.
Yeah. There's a very few things that I really care about on this season. Like it is a tough one. It is tough to watch. But let's do it. I'm ready to get into some of these things that you got here for us, Jake.
Yeah, well, so let's get into this. So with the cast, so I did want to mention, obviously we do have our winner. We'll be talking about Brian Heidik a lot. But it came out when the show started airing. The producers did not know this at the time, but Brian was an adult film star. They had no idea. And then they found out about this, and they're like, "Oh, great! This is the guy who wins, and we have the guy who wins, and he's done adult film stuff."
That's 100% accuracy for adult film stars, I believe. Right? Has there been any other adult film stars on Survivor?
I don't believe so off the top of my
head. I've never.
Well, I mean, Ozzy has gone on to do some.
Ozzy later, but
later.
At the time of doing it,
like Brian 2002 Survivor, only 5 people have won this show at this point. So it's like we're setting records for every winner, right? It's like we're hitting all the layers of different people winning this show. So it's like if Brian can do it, you can do it too.
If you want to win Survivor, get into the adult film industry and then go on Survivor.
Easy segue in.
And then the other thing I had on Brian, obviously the stuff that's come out post show that he shot a puppy with a bow and arrow.
That's with me. That's where it's like, okay, now your points go down, because I was trying to find something to defend this guy with, right? And then I read that, I'm like, I'm like, dude, you're not helping your case right now. And it's like, no.
We'll talk more about Brian when we get to as we go through this, and when we get to the winner rankings of people probably put him low because of the fact of they don't like him and they know about stuff that's happened post show. So I don't know. It should be interesting if we can kind of find anything to give Brian credit for.
I think there will be something just within the context of the game and at the time and what they wanted to do with him later, which I wish they did, but they didn't, because they picked another character from the season. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, you should have just gone full in with the I don't know, but we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, we will. Well, let's get into the actual season now. So they start off. So they're originally going men and women through the Thai village, and they think these are going to be their tribes. Well, they get to the actual beach and they find out no, that's not actually how the tribes will be. But we are doing a first anyway. That we're going to have two captains do a schoolyard pick, and it's the two oldest players, which are Jake and Jan. So we have Jan as the captain for Chuay and Jake as the captain for Sook. And we'll talk about what happens, like what the differences are between their camps. But what did you guys think of this twist and about this cast and the tribes as we started off here?
I mean, interesting idea. I hate schoolyard picks in general. We've only seen it be bad in Survivor. Whenever you let the players choose, we get terrible tribes. We get like the worst combination that you could possibly get, because you know, like there's a reason why casting producers and stuff are assembling tribes nowadays, because you're getting the best chemistry. They have people who know who's gonna work well, who's gonna hate each other. Like they're balancing all of this when they create these tribes. So when you just like let the players go for it, you get seasons like this. You get what happens in Fiji, Gabon. You know, like you get crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, Gabon torpedoed the schoolyard pick completely. So.
Yeah.
Jonathan?
Very interesting. Again, seasons of first. They're letting the contestants pick their own tribe. Jake picks based off of youth. Jan picks based off of maturity.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily like a bad strategy. But I think that by those two making those decisions on who they pick, it's kind of highlighted like what the problems were in both tribes more. Like Sook was just like they had a bad attitude, and they were all like young. And then Chuay had their own issues with certain individuals that wouldn't come up until later. So it was just kind of like like not a good bag of people necessarily. I mean, it's a stressful situation. I totally get it, but like it was the importance is more of like the fact that it was the first time ever that it's the symbolism of the event, not the quality of the event, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's really important how like you stack the deck of your tribe. Like you know, the Sook has all these young people, but that means that there's they have a certain way of living that is very different than if you had older people who are kind of a little more like, okay, let's just like get the camp ready, let's make sure everything is all set up, let's have morale, like let's all do good in the challenge, whereas Sook just go crazy. Like you need to have kind of a balance, and so we see that's why we see in the early days Sook being so good in challenges, because that's all that mattered at first. But then like as the days progress, all of these personalities are kind of just like weighing in. They want to go to tribal at in episode 3. Like they're like, please let us go. Which that is a downfall if you're wanting to go that early.
Yeah, we'll get there. That is going to be the first instance, I think, of throwing challenges being a bad thing, because we saw Ethan be successful with it in Africa so far, but this is going to be what helps cause Sook to go downhill. So, but we'll get there. I mean, it's an interesting wrinkle to throw at the players and let them pick their tribes and just see what chaos it can create, if you will. But I mean, I don't think either captain necessarily picks horribly. I mean, I don't know. It's not like, as much as we will talk about how batshit crazy Jan is, like at least she doesn't pick a horrible team in terms of like strength.
Yeah, I'd say they both, if I had to give them a grade, like a 70 to 80%, like as my grade. Like they did pretty good, but like maybe they should have probably prioritized a few other people before certain people.
Yeah, you see where they were going, but as we've said, like they picked people that were going to cause issues, and so they could have mixed it up a little bit. I think maybe if Jake had some of the wiser people, then Sook would have done better after like they lost their momentum later in the season. I don't know. It's tough to say, but that might be a what if Shane and I can talk about. I don't know.
Yeah, like what if they didn't pick their tribes, and what if it was actually just evenly mixed with people?
Yeah.
Then we wouldn't have certain incidents that happened later on, kind of thing. So it's like, and I think they probably figured that out after this, and it's like, nah, you guys are not gonna, we're not gonna let the cast pick their tribes for a while at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we do get the twist also that Sook has water that is close to them, but they have no shelter, so they're going to feud over shelter. Chuay has cave for their shelter, but their water, they have to literally paddle a boat or swim all the way to the other side of the island, which is ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, this is still in the era where Survivor wants things to be super difficult if they can. So it's just interesting to see that. I don't really care personally for making the survival aspect as like that difficult, but I'm sure there's people out there who prefer that. So,
but they got to sleep in a piss cave. Like, let's not forget about
cave.
that. You know,
Soon to be piss cave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
like...
Clay was saying it already smelled like that when they got there. So,
right.
Who knows how many other animals have been pissed in there before.
Or the crew pissed in there before they got there, and it was just like,
Well, you already had Magilla the monkey that was already stealing their food, so he's probably pissing there too.
Yeah, exactly. That's his home. He's the real hero of this season.
Yeah. Can we get more Magilla? What were you gonna say, Jonathan?
I was gonna be, the real hero are those red beret survivalists that showed up and like it and helped them with everything too. So I was like, oh god, that's insane. And what's also insane, Jake, is that we're already halfway through my notes.
Yay!
we're already halfway through. I'm like, oh god. But
all right. So we also, as Joe brought up, like Tanya gets sick, so she's throwing up a lot. Which again, I think Tanya would have done much better had she not gotten sick. 100%. But also, she could have. She's someone that just seems like she also could have, weathered through it, or survived through it. So I don't know. It's like it's very odd.
And she was the only young person on Gahn's tribe.
Yes.
Too, so it was like, okay, well, that was a little crazy.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, but I still think if she doesn't get sick, I really think she's able to do well on that tribe. To be honest, she seemed like everybody loved her. So
I think she makes at least Final Four again in the season. I feel like she's going that deep.
I agree. So back at Sook, we also start Rob and Cheyenne feuding. We'll talk more about Rob. Obviously, I think the biggest first impression is that we see him bring a skateboard as a luxury item. So, interesting choice. I think I was watching a secrets video on YouTube, and I think on his early show interview, or Rob is a podcast many years later, he said he wanted to bring a football, but they didn't want him bringing one because Boston Rob brought it in Marquesas. And so they're like, we can't have two Robs bring the same luxury item. So they saw the skateboard behind him, and they made him bring the skateboard. So
okay, well, that's good to know that he wasn't like, this is such a good idea, brah, to bring that skateboard. No, they're like, your producers are like, you are bringing that skateboard. It's like, you sure, man? It's like, no, you're bringing that skateboard. Okay.
Listen, it was the perfect item for his character.
He looked like he would have a skateboard with him at all times.
Yeah, we'll talk much more about Rob as we go through, but him and Cheyenne feud. We have Cheyenne saying, you don't mess with the she-devil and not get the horns. Cheyenne is interesting. She's obviously the only person that's going to return from this season ever, and it's going to stay that way most likely. I don't think we're ever getting anybody else. But I'm conflicted on Cheyenne because I feel like I should like her more, but she's not someone that I really point to and say I like Cheyenne as a character. I feel like there's some things where I can see where she would get annoying to people. But
she reminds me, I would put her in the same group as Andrea and Brenda. They're interesting, but not I'm not man, I need to see this person on the next season of Survivor. If they're there, I'd be I wouldn't complain, but I'm not
It was like, yeah, with Xian, she's definitely like one of those characters, and the fact that they brought her back for All Stars like made me like dislike her more because it was just like I just felt like I was like, you guys could have like toughed it out and just brought the winner back, and it would have been like way more interesting. But it's like we're gonna pick Xian, and I'm like, I get it, and I was like, there's just the whole cast in general was just like tough to get around, and it was just hard. But I could see Xian just being this literally the she devil like the whole season, and it was just like I couldn't with her.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's people that are going to be Xian supporters and they will get down.
And it's very fair. You can make a very fair case about that.
But I don't know. She's just not someone I would have rather seen Helen from this season. Over Xian. Obviously just to see how he would do on a return, I wouldn't mind just seeing Brian instead to see how he would do. But we'll get to what happened because Brian was in contention for All Stars, or so he claims. But we will get to why the rumors are that he did not come on. Then we have John, the pastor, who had his own controversies that have come out in recent years, and he pulls a prank with the water. That pisses off his entire tribe, and he's clearly not fitting in and trying to be the leader.
That works on the other tribe, by the way. The other tribe is younger, and they'd be like, "Ha, good one, John."
The water's like right around the bend, so they don't have to. Oh, you got us. We'll just go get more. But here, it's like he goes all the way out there to get it, and like, haha, dumps it out, and it's like, that was all we had. It was like, no.
Yeah, I mean, and then you get Ganya calling everybody a slur. So yeah, she says the R word straight up.
This reminded me. Oh yeah, this is early 2000s right here, where that is culturally acceptable at that time.
I just can't believe that she was allowed to just drop that, and it's just like okay, and that contributed to me not really liking Ganya, to be honest. But so we get to the first immunity challenge, and this is like, instead of Quest for Fire like we've gotten the first 4 seasons, this is like a bunch of puzzles, paddling the boat, and basically Ganya gets to the last puzzle and completely sucks at it and wastes the entire Chuay tribe's lead, and so Sook wins immunity. And so any thoughts on this first immunity challenge?
It was fine. I mean, I do enjoy the scale of some of these older school community challenges. It feels like it's bigger, and you're going through like different islands or like going around the island a lot more. Like that's fun. And obviously, when you're first watching, you go like, "Oh, cool! I guess Chuay Gahn like easily got this," and then there's the comeback, and it's like, "Whoa, that kind of happened." But it's like okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of those moments. There were a lot of those moments in this season where it's like I feel like the challenges were fine. It was just the cast was just like,
right.
That was the problem of the season. It was the challenges had nothing to do with why it was bad. It was just kind of like people's perception of the cast. So I think it was a good first challenge under like any other circumstance.
Yes.
It was just like
it's almost like you need people to root for and against, and instead of 2 tribes where you're just indifferent or hate.
That's the key word. That's the key word. How I felt going into the season was just indifferent. Like I didn't feel like I was really drawn to anybody particular, and I think that's why this season struggled for the most part. It's like challenges had nothing to do with it. I think it was just the kind of like indifferent attitude that people have towards Thailand is why I think people don't really like it that much.
Right. Yeah. I think that's definitely the case. So we get back to camp. Ganya breaks down crying because she screwed up the challenge. And it seems like, because everybody's annoyed with John, so it's John, Ganya, and Helen's going to be petty and throw a vote onto Clay because he has too much money. Because you notice he does not reveal what his job is because he owns like restaurants and stuff, I believe. and so like he does not reveal when he does the introduction, and so like everybody is already suspicious that he has a lot of money. So yeah, we get to Tribal Council, and John Raymond becomes the first boot of Survivor Thailand in a 6-1 vote, which apparently upsets people. Well, it just upsets Jan, I think, but because Jan cries at the drop of a hat. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, any thoughts on this, or do we would just want to hit our first boot rankings and share our thoughts that way?
I say we just hit it. Just go straight for the boots.
Yeah.
All right. The rankings as they are right now, we have Sonia at number 1, Deb and her rock shelter at number 2. We have Diane at 3, and Peter Harkey, the whole man, at 4. John Raymond, I have him last in first boots. I think part of that is the history that just came out like a few years ago. He got arrested because he abused children at his church school, and I'm just not gonna mess with that. And also just like I don't think he was that good anyway. So I had him dead last in my first boot rankings. So
fair.
What about you guys?
I can't remember. My first boots, I had like a few standout ones I put, and then everyone else I was like, mostly I just don't know, so I just started putting names. So I do think he was at like near the end, so I can't remember if he was final or if he like where he was, but he was definitely near the bottom there.
Same.
Yeah.
He's definitely on the end for mine. It's like he was on the end and he wasn't dead last, but like now hearing that story and it's like, no gain, buddy.
Yeah. I didn't know about that either, so it would definitely be the same for me.
It's like I'm not even surprised. It's like, oh, there's some. I'm not surprised that there's anybody involved in this season. And you say, there's a scandalous story that came about them. Oh, really? I wouldn't have thought of that. Like no, like for this season, like it's making it more and more. It's getting easier just to like dislike the season even more. It's like it couldn't just be like, oh, the cast were not good. It's like, oh no, everything in their personal lives was awful as well. So it was like, but yeah, he's low on my list. Just went lower, and yeah, that's John the Pastor.
Yes. Well, unsurprisingly, John Raymond ended up at number 5. He is dead last right now. I can't imagine that he will stay in the top 10. So I'm good for him to be last right now. So
I'm okay. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, that seems right.
Yep. All right. So now we get to the rest of the pre-merge. I think this is where I wanted to bring up Helen. I think Helen is a fantastic character for how bad of a season this is. I think her deadpan humor is pretty funny. So we get this trip for water with her and Jan, and Helen is just like the confessional of like, if I had a gun, I'd shoot her first, shoot me second. That's why I don't carry a gun. Is just really, really good. I think Helen, because the season gets a bad rap, I think Helen doesn't get recognized as a good character, and I think she's a really good character in this season.
She's definitely a bright spot in the season. She's in the season as well, and I can see why they wanted to potentially ask her to come back for like a later one. And I wish they did, man. It would probably what if? That'll be another what if. Yeah.
Exactly.
Joe, your thoughts on Helen?
Yeah, I mean she was fine.
Fine. What?
Listen, just fine is phenomenal for this cast.
Oh,
so
yeah,
getting that is like that's the highest praise you can get if you're on this season. It's just fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few funny parts with her. You know, I think it's funny that she didn't want to cry on Survivor, and then later on, when the family stuff is happening, she is the biggest ball of tears with her video.
Yes.
Like has the biggest reaction to it than anyone else, and it's just like. I thought that was kind of a funny thing that I noticed.
Because she's jumping up and down like, this has been so awful. I'm so happy to see my loved one here. Like,
yeah. Well, and they even celebrate her birthday or her anniversary in this episode, and then Tanya and Gahn both try to vote her off, which is okay. I don't know if that's because they I don't know. Like, part of me is theorizing that maybe Clay found out that Helen voted for him at the first vote and was like, "Oh yeah, throw your votes on Helen" or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him. We will talk about Clay in a bit, probably as well.
I feel like we're always going to talk about Clay when we talk about this. Like, there's no way around it.
Yeah.
Like, from the jump, he got like one vote. And it's like that's going to be the first of many. So like,
yeah, we will talk a lot about Clay and his really horrible confessionals of like, you know, I feel like sometimes I should laugh, but they're so bad, like in terms of just like nasty. It's
like you don't want to be like caught laughing at this kind of thing. It's like
it's like your drunk uncle who is at like a Christmas party and he says some funny things, but then says some really nasty things like as well with it, and you're like, I can't really laugh at any of this stuff now.
Yeah, where he talks about Gandia screaming, and he says if his 2-year-old did that, he would whoop its ass and put it back in bed, which is just yikes. Clay. Yeah, and Clay has since passed away as well. So yeah, he passed away 2022, I think, or something, 2021.
Yeah, it's a recent one.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, so I won't say too. I mean, we'll talk about how bad he is in the context of the season, but I won't go beyond the season.
He was a character.
Yeah.
Character.
Yeah. Well, that's just so Tanya does go. Unfortunately, we love you, Tanya. Tanya was actually supposed to be on the episode with us, or on What If with Shane and I, and she's just been too busy. Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like so. But we would love to get Tanya on the show at some point. So, she's awesome. All right, so let's get to the attack zone challenge. So this is where Angry Jeff starts to come out because everybody starts breaking the rules. People aren't in the attack zone when they first made contact. So this is actually the first challenge that people get kicked out of, contrary to what Jeff says in Survivor Samoa later. But I don't blame him because who remembers Thailand? But yes, we get Rob Zabachnik choking Clay because Clay is so short that Rob just ends up grabbing him by the throat.
just throwing him.
It's so funny. Like, okay, this is something I probably shouldn't be laughing at either, but it is just so funny to watch him just grab Clay by the throat and just chuck him in there.
Yeah, stupid rules. Gosh, ruining our good time.
And as like he's narrating it, he's like, and Rob just grabbed Clay by the throat and throws him in the water, and I'm like, okay, like we're doing this now.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and Rob's reaction to that when he goes, he's like, "You hear what you said to me?" Like that was like, I was just like, it's like, should I be laughing at this? I don't know if I should or not, but it was like,
I laugh at it. I don't know.
Okay.
I think some of Rob's over the top lines are funny. Now, do I think he's still a dick? Absolutely, and he's not one of my favorite characters of all time. But like, I'm entertained by him in the episodes he's in. I'm not gonna lie.
I would have been down for him on Heroes vs. Villains as a villain. You know, like I think he would have been an interesting pick for that season.
Like anyone in the season could have been a villain. They would have been like villains galore if you wanted to. Like we're villains too. So it's like.
Yeah, all villain season, and they just redo Thailand.
Yeah.
God no. Let's not redo Thailand. All right, so we have to unfortunately talk about the Gandia and Ted situation a little bit. We're not going to go too much into the weeds here, but
yeah, and that's crazy about that because like both of those events kind of like literally happened like in the same episode, right? So there was no space to digest anything. It was just like this happened. Okay, then we go straight into like the Ted Gandia situation, which I thought was really crazy going into there because they would eventually gloss over it because it's only like an episode and a half. Yeah, that it's an issue basically.
Yeah, well, it's also really weird because they start the episode by like saying how close, like they we're seeing like how they're complimenting each other and you know all this stuff, and then and then it gets to that like all the gross stuff, and then into the challenge, back into the Ted Gandia stuff, and it's just like. Episode 3 was probably the toughest one.
Yeah, this is unfortunately should never happen. It's unfortunately the first instance of this happening on Survivor, and I'm not a Gandhi fan in this season by any means, but obviously, like, I do not condone this situation either. And like Ted is very much in the wrong for this. So it's just a gross situation all the way around, and I don't know what else to say about it. I don't really want too much.
No, you did. Like you hit it on the head. Like it was a gross situation, and then it eventually would impact the game for like the next couple votes for however long Gandia was still in, and obviously, Helen chooses to go with the dudes, and they vote. They knew that they had to vote one of them out to like get rid of the problem, and they nipped it in. It seemed like they nipped it in the bud like really quickly instead of letting it like fester like with Island of the Idols, which I think is why, as bad as the situation was, it didn't like it like came and it went. If that makes any sense, like they just glossed over it real quickly. Then you get back to the game, and it's so early too in the game. They were just like, we're gonna edit around it, and then we don't know how it's gonna turn out. So,
absolutely. Yeah, and then we do get to the first, not first challenge throw, but the second challenge throw in Survivor history, and the first one that ends up resulting in the self-destruction of a tribe, because Chuay just decides, oh yeah, Jed and Stephanie and Rob are pissing us off, especially Jed, and so we're gonna throw this challenge to get rid of Jed. With Cheyenne saying, oh, she could solve this logic puzzle in her sleep, but she just chose not to, which is hilarious because we don't. That is going to turn out to not be true later on. That Cheyenne cannot solve a logic puzzle. But yeah, so we do get this vote where like it's obvious that like Jed and Stephanie and Rob are like the outsiders, and like Jed is going to go here in an episode that doesn't even seem like it's really focused around him at all for the majority of it. So it's just kind of like it's like a vote that like is a surprise to like the minority, but like I don't know,
not the majority.
That they had laid the groundwork the previous two episodes about how he was like lazy, but also like I mean it seemed like he was at least trying to get food or something. Like it didn't like there was a little bit, so it was kind of just like, well, the majority just thought he was lazy, so that means that he's lazy.
I don't know. Like Jed was just a nothing character, so it's like it's fine. I don't know. And then Stephanie's a nothing character, which is a big point of like contention that Jeff thought she was going to be really entertaining, and then she ended up doing nothing. So.
And that kind of just shows like how both tribes have their own separate problems. Whereas like Sook was just like you had Jake who picked a whole tribe of young people, and some of them were good at stuff, but then you also had like this general attitude problem with certain individuals, and they like did not care what you thought of them. Like we're either going to help or we're not going to help, and they're going to like tell you to your face if like you're an idiot or not. And I was like, well, okay. It was just weird. It seemed like they knew that we don't care. Like you're on the beach by yourself, sleeping in the rain. You might want to come back with your tribe, but no, it was just it's a conundrum.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, even Jed and Stephanie are like, why are 5 people going off together? I'm like, are you serious? Like, you're noticing 5 people going off together and you're just going to sit there and question it? Like, or like not question. I don't know. It just, that was annoying to me. It's like, it was very obvious that they should have known they'd be on the outs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's classic early school Survivor, though. Like, so many pre-mergers are just like that, where they're just like, they should clearly know something's up, but, like, they just, the strategy has not really come to them. Maybe, some of these other people maybe barely watch Survivor, actually. Like, they know of it. They maybe saw season 1, and, but then, they get a call from a producer, or, they meet a producer, and now suddenly they're on the island, and it's just like, well, we're just going to let them go out and see what happens. And sometimes you get this.
We're still in the era where it's like we have people that are playing that don't know anything about the show. So it's like we're not officially getting to any players yet, any real players yet that have like watched every single season and claim to be a super fan. So we're still in that like fresh period where you could have a whole cast of people that don't know anything about Survivor, which I think will change next season when we have Rob C,
Yeah.
So he's like the first player that's like, I've seen everything. I'm a super fan.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that eventually. What this is still the period where you have people that are just fresh and they don't know anything about the game, and it's still very early Survivor.
Yeah, absolutely. So next episode we do get like the challenge with the giant dummies for the bananas, and as Joe brought up, the banana etiquette starts here. So Rob does not ask people if they want a banana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's taking too many bananas. He just thinks it should be an open season of bananas.
Yeah.
Yep. He set the groundwork for James.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a real game changer, Rob's.
He's a real trailblazer.
Yeah, why wasn't Rob on season 34? That's the real question we got to be asking.
Yeah, the guy who didn't vote correctly one time.
And like all they show of his highlights are of him like choking Clay and like grabbing bananas. Like that's literally like all he did. Like,
And get bitten by a sea creature.
Yeah.
He did more than Haley Ford, I'm just saying, So.
I agree with that, actually. All right, so then, yes, we do get to Chuay going back to tribal, and it does get to this vote where basically it's between gender split, and Helen has to decide whether to tie it with the women or decide to go with the men and potentially give herself a longer time in the game. So she decides to go with the move of voting Gandhi off with the guys. I think for Helen at this point, I think it was the right move. I think Helen obviously makes missteps later, but I think it's also key that she has this relationship with Brian. That is why she also decides to go with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it protects her for quite a while, where she's not really in danger for a very long time after this. So, I mean, like, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. And then we also get Clay's moment of bye-bye Denver Diva as he votes out Gandia, and Jeff has no idea for the first time. Jeff has
I remember that. Well, like, he wrote it on the thing, and that's the first time Jeff's like, just cut the crap, like,
So someone has to tell me right now who did this. And Clay has to like fess up like he got caught in school, like doing something wrong.
It's so awkward and so funny, and you can tell Jeff again is just pissed and hates this season.
Like it's his hatred for it is like going down it's basically getting worse and worse as the season progresses. So it's like
Yeah. I will say also, I did want to point out the tribal council actually is pretty cool looking, despite it being a bad season. I will give it points for that.
Yeah, they're like on a dock. So it's like I mean in Thailand, I mean beautiful location. So it's just good old times on that dock.
The aesthetics of Thailand, pretty much everything is actually really good. It's just the cast.
Right, exactly.
It's just the cast. That's the only problem.
It's just the core part of what makes Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. All right, so we are going to get to the auction, but as a tribe, and we do get the first ever mutiny offer, which no one takes, even though Stephanie and Rob definitely should. Jan probably should as well, but they do not. It's going to, I guess, work out for Jan in the long run, at least to get her farther, but Stephanie and Rob, I just have zero idea why neither of them takes this. Stephanie's literally going to go home this episode, and it just, I mean, they're just terrible players. So, that's why.
So I will say, in this era of Survivor, if you mutiny, your game is over. There's no chance of winning. Like, at least if you are still on that Sook tribe, you still think your tribe is physically stronger, that you might win the rest of the challenges and get to the merge on that tribe, whereas the other tribe maybe looks weaker physically. And, if you go over there, everyone on your original tribe is going to hate you. If you go over there and they lose, they're just going to vote you off because why would they not do that? So mutiny is like, in my opinion, a terrible mechanic of Survivor because, like, the odds of it really benefiting you is not the greatest because you have to, especially if you never swapped. If there's like a swap situation and you have people on other sides that you already know, then it could work. But if
Right.
you don't know those people, then it's just kind of like it's a mute point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're gonna see it in Cook Islands, and that it really destroys Candace and Penner's games.
Yeah.
So, absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Jonathan, any thoughts on the mutiny?
Not really. Again, this is just like an early phase in the game where I don't think it was like, yeah, it's super dangerous to do that, but I think the people that needed it the most like didn't care or didn't think that far ahead with it because they were just like, no, I'm gonna like go not care about banana etiquette or I'm gonna sleep on the beach kind of thing. So they just didn't like. I think it just went over everyone's head at that point. So
Right. And then we have Sook go back to tribal, and we do get the Rob confessional to Xian of like, I just don't like you, nothing personal.
Yeah.
I just don't like you. Nothing.
Yeah. Because that makes sense.
It's very personal.
The most personal thing you could say. But then, no, it's not personal. No, don't worry about it.
Oh my god.
I just don't like you.
Rob. And then him and Jeff even get into it at that tribal where like Jeff is like, if you guys continue on this track, you're gonna self-destruct, and he's like, come on, bro, we're still one up on them, and Jeff is really angry. He's like, bro, you're gonna fail.
He's like, we got this, bro.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, I miss the days where Jeff would like just call out the players like their gameplay like this. Like there's so many times where he literally would be just like, so people are thinking that you might be tough to beat in the end. So why don't you say something about that? They're like, what the fuck, Jeff? Like that's totally like crossing the line. It feels.
Yeah. I mean, this is now the era now that Jeff has called out people at the attack zone. This is where Jeff is going to call out players. Obviously, we just saw it Denver Diva, and now, he just does not care anymore.
No, like, I think that must have been hard because it's like for him doing like Marquesas and like Thailand both kind of back to back. It was just like both at the time both seasons were very well low on the rankings, and it was kind of like almost getting too bad seasons back to back. I think he was just kind of like, I've had it up to here with these players, like doing this shit. Like I'm running the show now. Like this is like, I think this is, if anything, if this season has done anything, I think it literally propelled Jeff to be more of a controlling host in the game, to kind of like really grab the reins and be like, I'm running the show here. Like you guys are not in charge. I'm in charge here, basically. So I think that's what the purpose of Thailand was. It was supposed to help Jeff grow as a host, like not for any other gameplay reason, but to help him harness that power to take control of being the host for Survivor.
Yeah, I think there was even more personal thing. I think that he was ready to maybe think that Survivor's over and trying to get his resume like as a host for maybe something else. So he's trying to build up his own personal resume of what he can do for these kind of shows. And because I think he even said like he thought All Stars was going to be like last season, and that's just a few seasons around the corner. So it's just like he assumed it was reaching its end at this point.
We will get to multiple points where Jeff thought the show was done or was trying to quit. Like we will get to that in Survivor history. We then have Rob's ocean encounter that we mentioned. I mean, it's funny that everybody just thinks he's being a spaz is normal when he like falls in the water. Like it's so dramatic, and then more Xian and Rob feuding. And then we get Jan's pet cemetery, where she finds a dead baby bat and starts crying over it. And we're gonna get her burying the bat. Later, she'll bury the chicken legs, and I don't know. Jan is literally batshit crazy. I think Jan doesn't even understand that this is the game Survivor. I think she is just insane.
And she's like an elementary school teacher, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me feel for her a little bit, because I think she's like just probably like a loving person that's used to dealing with kids. And then it's like, you should not be here. Like, this is not like, if you're going to cry over a bug like eating squash, then it's like, this is not the area.
She's also 53 and she looks like she's like 73. So.
I'm like, no. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, definitely just did not age very well, unfortunately, for Jan.
Yeah, I'm just like,
I literally thought she was like, yeah, like in her 70s. Like, no, she's like, I'm like 53.
Yeah.
it's so weird. I'm like, I hope at 53 I do not look like that.
Yeah,
All right.
a little too much sag, just a little too much.
A little,
yeah.
Yeah. So then I did want to bring up Rob's back next arc, where after he dominates the reward challenge, he has the fight with Ken and Penny, and then basically then has like this epiphany with Ken. They have like the bro talk, and then Rob just says like he's struggled enough in life and just basically has this coming out to the tribe. And I thought this was a beautiful moment, to be honest. I thought this was kind of why I also like Rob in this season, is that he has this moment where he goes from being a dick for once becomes like a nice person and just like knows that he needs to change his life around. I believe that didn't last at least too long, because I believe after this he did go on some like trashy reality dating show or something. But I mean, at least in the moment, it's actually a pretty beautiful moment. But
it was a very beautiful moment, and it was a very kind of like probably the only like bright spot of the season, because they literally mentioned it at the reunion.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Yeah, I'm talking to my dad again. Like things are great," and it's like, "Good for you, Rob." Like I'm glad that you really turned it around.
Yeah.
All thanks to Survivor, That's why.
Yeah, all thanks.
I'm surprised that he's not one person that they keep bringing back and just like, look at this emotional growth arc that we got out of Ross. we see that all the time, bring it back to Thailand.
Yeah, I think Jeff hates this season too much to even remember who Rob's backnick is. Yeah, and then Rob gets voted out because Cheyenne can't do a logic puzzle, which is really funny. And
but hey, Rob's okay with it.
Yeah, he's okay with it.
He's moved on. He's
two B's, guys.
Yeah.
He basically told everyone like, "Hey, I think my journey is like good now," which is like the perfect reason now. Like, okay, I guess we don't need to take out Cheyenne now. We can take out you.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely could have definitely tried to spin it a little bit just to try to get them to take out Cheyenne. I mean, either way, even if he had tried, I feel like he was done because his game was horrible.
Yeah. See, like I'm a writer, so whenever when I play these games or any of this stuff, I really try to like have a narrative where my story is still continuing. And I'll like almost tell people about this, like, oh, here's the story going on, and this is kind of like what needs to happen for the story to like fully make sense for you, for me. And it's just like once you have like a complete resolution, like now there's a lot of reason for people to just say, okay, I guess we can just take you out. Like you got what you needed out of the season. Like there's no need anymore.
Right. So that happens. Then we get to what should be our merge episode, but this is part of the pre-merge because it is the fake merge. And we have where Ken and Helen go to the Sook camp. Is it Brian and Cheyenne or Clay and Cheyenne? I'm trying to remember.
So Ken and Helen go to Sook, I believe, and then it's Clay and Cheyenne that go to
it's Clay and Cheyenne.
Gahn.
Brian's with Penny. So they go to the Chuay camp, and so Cheyenne is basically like, I hate my tribe, I'm gonna flip on them. Like the only people who have been nice to me have been Jake and Ken. So she's basically gonna throw Penny under the bus and Aaron and just be like, yeah, they mistreated me horribly, so I want to work with you guys. And we get the two tribes living on the same beach. So kind of what are your guys' thoughts on like this twist and like the fact that it is a fake merge and not the real merge?
Hate it. Don't dislike it. I like, and it's like I can now watch it again and see like Jeff trying so hard to make sure that his like the language and verbiage that he's using isn't giving it off. And like he's very specifically saying one beach, nothing about tribes, just like you will be living on one beach. This is it. But man, what this season could have been so much more entertaining if this was just the merge right here.
Yeah.
It basically just like allowed the Pagong to happen. Whereas at least if there's a flip, like at least there would have been interesting tension on the flip instead of just like
Yes.
a normal Pagong. Because at least when someone flips and there is a Pagong, like in South Pacific with Cochrane, the other tribe gets to now like hate on Cochrane, and there gets to be drama and entertainment throughout the whole Pagong thing. We lost that. We basically lost the drama of the Pagong and then just had a Pagong.
Yeah, this was really bad. And like, as soon as you see the reaction of like Jeff telling them, "Oh wait, I never said merge. I don't know why you thought that," and then you get the moment of Xian realizing she screwed herself. Just like, it's a really bad decision. Just merge them at final 10. They won't merge till 8 this season, which is way too few numbers to merge with.
Yeah, they won't merge till 8, and even by then the jury doesn't start till like 9, like after like Aaron gets voted out. So it's kind of like confusing. And it was just, I think, granted, it was a first. It was a first. That's the only, good or bad, it was a first. And it was just another example. It was another twist in this game for this season that I think just backfired because of like, oh, like you're going to pick your own tribes, backfired. Oh, we're not going to merge until like 8, backfire. You know, it just didn't. Obviously, it blew up Xian's game too because she was already like trying to like flip and everything, and I told her to calm down. And it's like, oh yeah, we're not merging, and it's like, okay, well you're screwed now.
Yeah. I mean, I think this will be the what if. Shane and I will discuss like what happens if they just merge at 10, and like how far does Xian make it at this point? Because I think that's the most intriguing thing from this season.
She probably gets 6th. She probably ends up getting 6th.
Yeah, I mean, Brian doesn't even remember what Xian's actual name is because you get to the next episode, he gets drunk and he calls her Sui. So, like,
yeah,
Sui, your winner, everybody.
Oh, Brian.
And like the fact that it's him being drunk leads to his like true colors coming out of like he doesn't care about these people.
Yeah,
and like it's just wild to me. Like nobody. That's like the one time Brian slips up this entire season is him getting drunk, and nobody picks up on it.
Yeah, they just think he's being drunk, and oh, it's just a one time thing. Let's ignore that.
Yeah,
he's like, who are you again? He's like,
oh my. So yeah, Xian is gonna go, and then Sook is gonna lose again, go down to 3. So like any remaining intrigue of like, oh, they could go in 4-4, but no, that does not happen. And Aaron is the first to join the jury, and that is the pre-merge. So anything else? Are you guys ready to hit the post?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I want to say, you know what, I kind of liked Aaron, but that was mostly because I think she was very attractive.
Yeah.
And you know who also really liked Aaron?
Clay.
Clay.
Clay drooling over Aaron is so weird too. Like, dude, you have a wife.
I think that's why it's like you get numb to this season. The further you get deep into it, you're just like, I'm not surprised that this person's fawning over this other person. I'm not surprised that Brian's forgetting people's names. I'm not surprised that like any of this is happening. It's like you could tell me that someone beats. So I was like, oh, I believe you. I'm not shocked at this point. I'm just like strapped in for this season until we get to the end. So going into the merge officially, it's just like at this point you're like, when is this going to end?
Yeah. If I tier listed all these players, the highest one maybe gets a B tier, and that's like me being generous. Like I don't think there's any A tier players, no S tiers. Like this is just like it's
just okay.
It's mid is best, and then there's a bunch of D's and F's.
Yeah. I would say out of the final 8, it's Brian, and then probably Ken and Jake, and then maybe Clay is like C tier, and then
Helen.
Yeah. And then the Jan and Penny and Ted are bottom.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody is saying how manipulative Penny is, but I don't think we really truly see it because she's just a nothing character. So But we do get the merge, and so they merge with their loved ones videos into probably the worst merge tribe name, Chuay, or one of the worst, because they just combine the names.
Yeah, that's how creative this cast is. They really thought outside the box for this one.
Yeah, it was just kind of lazy at that point because I don't remember because the other seasons it's like okay this is either like not good or this is creative, and now this is just we went from bad to creative to lazy. Yeah. So we're just going down this list right now. So
yeah, it's definitely the worst, and then probably the best is either Motomaji from Africa or Barramundi from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
yeah.
So I don't know, and then Soliantu and Ratana are just. I mean, Ratana's not good. Soliantu's okay at least because even though it was made up by Boston Rob, at least it was somewhat.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, sounds cool. All right, so yeah, we get the loved ones videos, and CC Heidik almost screws up Brian as well, and where she shows off his piano and his cars, and oh my god, like again, how this didn't blow Brian's game up is insane to me.
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean, also CC is also a porn actress, I believe. So
yeah, and Clay was strolling all over her too.
Yes.
That's why Brian's like these people are just like I'm just using these people. It's like it's just because I feel like any other normal person would have like cut on to that, but because the cast was so all over the place, Brian was just like I'm like slither my way through the end with this.
Yeah, I do know.
But Helen did call him out on it though, right? I believe
she does in a confessional, but then she doesn't act
do
on
any.
it.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything.
There are a couple people. I know. When I would talk to Tanya, she said that. Like everyone just loved Brian out there, and then when the season started airing, they were like shocked by like what he was saying to the confessionals. Like they were like, "I can't believe like what you're saying." Basically, like it felt like it was a different person in confessional for all of them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We're on track right now.
But yeah, so we do get this, and then Brian ends up winning the challenge, yada yada. We can skip to the first individual immunity, and it comes down to Clay and Ken in the tie numbers. And Clay wins, and boy, does he look sexy, apparently, to himself.
I know I look sexy with this on. I was like, he did make Jeff laugh, though, with that while he was putting it on his neck. I was like, okay, like, you get one.
One laugh from Jeff.
You get one laugh. All right.
Hey, that's something. That's something that we haven't gotten from the season so far.
Yeah,
Jeff seeming to enjoy himself.
Yeah, and Clay winning something. I'm like, that's interesting because I was like, all right.
Yeah, and it was up against the guy who like would have, he ended up going home. So like, it was actually an important win for Clay to win here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if Ken wins the challenge, it's probably Penny going. I would think maybe Jake, but I think nobody saw Jake as a threat, so it's probably Penny.
Yeah, I wonder how Ken would have done like in the next challenge and challenge after that, because he did say he is probably one of the top prime contenders to win challenges. So to take him out now instead of like waiting, like what they're doing right now in 48 Joe.
Yeah. Well, and people like production probably would have loved Ken to win because he's the New York City police officer after 9/11.
Post 9/11,
Yeah, so they would have loved. I mean, literally, he does his introduction in the beginning, and everybody's clapping because obviously 9/11 just happened. So
he got a real heroic edit of the season.
Yeah,
like he definitely.
He was definitely one of the better characters for this season. It's like if you had to like pick like a handful, if there even is a handful out of the season, I think he will definitely always take one of those better character spots out of Thailand.
Yeah, I'll give Ken a little bit of credit there. Yeah, I think as much as I can give credit to Thailand, but
it's like you just don't. You're just very anti-Thailand. You're like, there's nothing good about this. I don't want to find anything good about this.
Yeah. We will get to a Ken moment later with Brian in the final tribal council. I will talk about that because I have some tea there that has come out as a rumor sense, but we'll get there when we get there. But it has to do with the fact that the Sook Chai is doing a voting for Ted here because Chuay does throw Ted under the bus. So, but yeah, Ken is gone as the merge boot for this season. So then Clay and Jake start feuding. Jake is telling his Roy Rogers tales or whatever it is Clay calls them about like shooting a bear and all this other stuff. Like, my God. I don't know. I like if you're gonna like I definitely understand being entertaining. This is one thing where Jake just was not fitting in with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was really trying to hope that this would like make people like him and maybe find a crack somewhere, but like
Right.
I don't know. At this point in early school seasons, like if there's a clear like, oh, these two people are on the house, like it's just gonna be those two people going. So it's, but I do respect this episode. Jake tries. Jake is at least is actively trying to do something.
That's what I put down on my notes was he's actually trying to play the game. Is like once you get to like the merge, like Ken goes or like Aaron goes, Ken goes. It's like you can tell that he's like, well, it's gonna be me at some point. And he's like, I might as well start. He just starts calling out Clay on like everything. Then Clay gets like mad over it. But it's like, but he's able to survive a couple more votes. But it's just at least he's trying. But it's just like there's nowhere to go with any of this. So.
Yep. So. So Jake does try pitching Brian to like Helen and Ted and stuff, and nobody's picking up on it, which obviously they should have, but they're gonna choose not to do that. So then we skip ahead to the loved ones disgusting food challenge, and this is where we do get some fun little moments. Jake has some fun moments with his wife and everything. But the fun moment is of course Helen with her husband Jim of like, Jim wins and gets to come back to camp, and Jim is telling Helen, you need to cut Brian, and she does not listen to her husband. Poor Helen. Poor Jim, really, because Jim should have been listened to. I would like to see Jim play Survivor.
Yeah, you need to cut Brian.
They should have come back for Blood versus Water, you know?
Yeah. I actually would have been fine with that, honestly.
Yeah. It's like, can Thailand like salvage its reputation by bringing Helen and her husband back for Blood versus Water? Maybe, possibly.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then skipping ahead, Jake gets voted out because they do come back for that. Loved ones come back for that immunity challenge, but we skip ahead to Final 5, and we get another car challenge, and we get Brian misspelling road trip, and it is Rayod trip. Ted ends up stealing the win from him. I don't know if Brian actually threw that challenge because he knew about the everything with the car curse. So I'm wondering if that was a deliberate throw.
I think that was a deliberate throw. I think he was like, it's more valuable for me to stay back with Clay and Jan than to go off with Ted for a. He's taking Helen, and I know Helen's going to tell me everything when she gets back. Exactly. I think that was a pure strategy move. Because Brian, at this point, has basically casually, leisurely walked his way through, like, every challenge. And it's, like, just, you can tell by the way that he walks through these things, it's, like, not even a big deal. And I think that was just a situation where he was, like, Rayod trip. Like, I didn't need to do anything.
Yeah. Also, he has cars himself. He's car dealer.
Car salesman.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
why would he care?
So it's probably like a nothing burger actually for him, whereas other people like cared more, and he could probably use that as like leverage. Like you're able to kind of like actually use something in that instead of just now I got something that I already could have.
Yeah. And this is where we get Brian Heidik's iconic Mr. Freeze confessional of like, what skills are required? Ice skating skills. You got to just throw him a nice slider. Mr. Freeze is in the house, even though it's, about 110 out here. Yeah, we get that iconic confessional. Iconic in terms of Thailand, at least. But I mean, we get to hear Brian voice like more of his thoughts on the game. I know we haven't talked as much about Brian, but again, I mean, just the fact that he's able to be so cold and calculating and pretend that he's actually like someone that people can approach and talk to. And to me, he's the only Survivor player I think that I've seen where they can fake being something else and be successful with it.
It's so weird. It's so bizarre to watch it in this season because it's like I literally said like when I got to the season and we talked about this earlier, Jake. It's like you always pick someone, right? And who I think's gonna win. I was like, they got to Brian. They introduced Brian. I'm like, that guy's gonna win. I don't know why, but like it's like used car salesman, right? I'm like, like he's gonna pitch some sleazy whatever to do it, which he does. But it was just the season was so crazy with all these other people that someone as cold and calculating and possibly sociopathic like Brian could easily just like slip on through like any of this and still be able to just like leisurely walk his way through challenges and win them because it's like no, and then still have people come back to him and talk to him. It was just like I guess we could say off-putting, but it was just a weird situation where someone with that personality type could take advantage of the chaos that was happening with the other cast members.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he had said something even like he has like a hands-off leadership approach. Like he knows everything that's like going on in the tribe, but like, he's not like a Ken that's like very like telling everyone what to do, but like he knows everything that's going on except for the 1 to 2 hours where he was vomiting because he was drunk, which yet again is something that he said makes him look like he's human to these people.
Yes.
That's the thing, though, is like it's a human thing, and I think that we were talking like that's like the only time in the season that you see him in any type of vulnerable state. Is doing that because he's had some mask on literally the whole time that has diffused people to not look at him closer. It's like very very good at deflecting to like other different directions, and so you never really see him in a state of where he's worried. Right, like he's just like this the whole time, which I think as people, it's when you find someone, I guess, especially in the game of Survivor, if you can't trust somebody or if you get any type of weird off-putting vibes, it could cause you to distrust someone. But if you're like literally on that level and you're not giving that energy to anybody, it's scary. Very, like we were saying, Jake, very cold and calculating as a character.
Yeah. I mean, he's literally a sociopath. So.
Yeah, like the production literally said that like after the season, it's like he's too kind of like
Yeah. Well, that's the end of the post-merge up until the finale. I mean, anything else? Are we ready to just jump into the finale and start closing this out?
Let's go.
Just start.
All right.
No, I'm already at the end of my notes. Anyway, so it's like.
Yep. So final challenges, Brian just wins them. The second chance challenge, this is where then Brian and Clay are going to choose to cut Helen because of what happened with her and Ted. Like she was potentially, or they think she was going to work with Ted and going to try to take a shot at them. So Brian takes that as a cue to be able to get Helen out and cut her. And we obviously get Helen getting very upset by this, which rightfully so. And, her final words of like telling people she hopes they literally break their legs. Yeah. I mean, Helen, you should have listened to your husband.
Oh, man.
He gave you $1 million answer right there, and you didn't take it, so.
Yeah.
I am curious if she she would definitely beat Clay or Jan in the end. So
yes, does she beat Brian is the question.
I do think Brian thought like hell. I also think Brian thought that Helen, he's like, would probably give me a run for my money if I took her to the end. So that was also a strategy as well. So I think that was just, time to cut Helen. Like I'm better off going with Clay and Jan. Like
right.
At that point. It's almost like a walk. He literally walked his way to the $1 million check and these last couple of votes.
Yeah, he was just guaranteed, and it was just a matter of playing the moves out.
Yeah.
So, I think the Helen vote is the only blind side of the season. So, if that's any,
if you want to call it a blind side,
But so then we go to the final challenge, and this is actually like a pretty looks like a pretty tough final challenge where you have to be in like the Thai torture pose and you have to hold coins in between your fingers. Like
that is a cool challenge.
Yeah,
that is a very cool challenge.
Yeah, like in this giant cave. Oh my, yeah, I like this challenge. So Brian does win because he's up against Clay and Jayon. Of course, Brian was going to beat Clay and Jayon.
Yeah, he had the easiest path to winning these immunities. With the people he was up against. So
yeah, so Brian is going to win this, and he is going to vote Jayon off. Crazy Jayon. Now we get to rank Jayon in the Fallen Angels. Right now, we have Kathy Maverick O'Brien from Arcasis at number 1, followed by Rudy, then Lex, then Keith Famey, Chef Keith number 4. For Jayon, I had her dead last to my Fallen Angels just because I don't think she ever had any win equity. I don't think Jayon ever actually knew there was a game going on. And, like, maybe there's a couple other Fallen Angels you can point to and be like, this person might have been a little worse than Jayon, but I just don't see it. Like maybe she has a couple character moments where you're like, you know, batshit crazy Jayon, that's funny, but I don't know. I just never found her like super interesting, and like you know, maybe she seems like a nice lady, but you know, she wasn't made for this game, and so like I think she's the worst Fallen Angel game that we've seen ever.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, that's about what I would have said in the rankings as well for these people. It's Jan was just craziness, you know. If this season had a lot of good game players happening and you had then Jan, like I think that would have been fine. But the fact that there's no other game players and then there's Jan also just kind of like it doesn't work. Like you need something else to balance out the crazy. It's just like when you have indifference with crazy, it's not really.
Yeah, I had her dead last as well. And I think I just genuinely kind of like felt like sorry for her the whole time because it was like, yeah, she's like batshit crazy and stuff, but it's like you could tell like she's like just genuinely like distraught like over this whole experience, and so you're just kind of like what are you doing here kind of thing. It's like it was. Yeah, I just felt sorry for her, even though, like, as crazy as she was, because, I mean, she obviously cares. Like, she's an elementary school teacher, like, at the age. I know she's 53, but looks like she's in her 70s. But, like, for the most part, I was like, man, like, you're crying over a bug. And there's people like that. Or you're crying over, like, a dead bat. And it was just, like the whole season, we're all crying. All right, so it's, tough situation.
Yeah. So she ends up in dead last on the overall rankings right now. So we'll see if she stays in dead last. But yeah, not shocked there. Thailand is just going to result in dead last placements, I think. So.
It is by far the worst season of these first 5 seasons. Like, in pretty much every aspect, it will be the worst season out of the All-Star era.
Yeah,
as well. So it's.
Yeah, I can say that for certain at this point, but we'll get there. All right, final tribal council. So we have Penny calling out Brian for not getting to know her at all. And so good on Penny at least for being like, yeah, let me quiz you on what you know about me, and you can't answer anything about me. So Clay burns Ted and Helen and Jake, because Jake even throws a softball to Clay, and Clay just decides, no, I don't want your vote. Like, I don't know. Like,
was that the first time ever that like a finalist like talked back to the jury?
I think that's correct.
Kind of like legitimately like talked back and like like just direct. Like, he's like, I don't care for your like. It was okay. So.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. I think Clay's the first. I know we're gonna get it from Twyla and Katie, and back-to-back seasons
later on.
So I don't think the other 4 losing finalists ever talked back to the jury.
No, I can't remember any of the other ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was nothing that stood out that was like that deep, I guess. Oh well, 4 Marquesas had some finalist stuff that went down. Right? You guys were on that. You were on that episode, Jake. Talking about
the Nalia and Vesepia. I mean, I don't think Nalia ever really talked back to them, but you did have.
Yeah, you had. Sense. Yeah, you're right.
But so that happens, and then we get the two I want to talk about. Obviously, we have Helen's jury speech, calls Brian the epitome of a trashy used car salesman, which is great. And yeah, just basically arguing with Brian, which I think is justified. I think this is one instance where I'm like, I'm fine with you being bitter because at least it's entertaining too. So. And then the other thing, so this is where Ken calls out Brian, says that Brian told him something, gives him an opportunity to say it, doesn't like Brian's answer. So the rumor, and I wouldn't want to believe this is true, but I guess it would line up with why Ken wasn't satisfied with what Brian's answer was. The rumor is that when Ted got thrown under the bus to the Sook guys, that at least Brian told Ken that the reason why they wanted Ted gone, they didn't want Ted to win, is because Brian didn't want two black winners in a row. So yeah, that's the rumor, and I think because Brian would assume back then that even that cops are racist, so like.
So you think he was trying to play into that?
I think
that Ken was like, oh, okay.
That's the rumor, but that
would actually make a lot of sense. Coming from Brian to use something like that in a very cold, calculating way to another person, that goes beyond like normal survivor strategy. That's like you're taking elements of what you assume about. That's a very analytical thing to do to apply it to someone else, and that makes a lot of sense. Like why he was not going to say that in front of everybody. So
yeah. It's just a shitty situation as well, but again, we've come to see that from Thailand completely. So, but yes, so Brian does win 4-3 over Clay, close vote, and so we do get the reunion. I mean, some stuff there, but I mean, I don't really want to touch on it.
Everyone applauded Rob for his character growth, though.
Yeah, well, and Kevin did bring up in the 1 through 50 chat the moment where Jan claims that nobody came up to her with a plan, and then Helen is exasperated and is like, I came up to you several times. That was the one good moment. Helen is, I think, the MVP of the reunion, if you could pick one for the reunion. But yeah, so we're gonna get to the losing finalists and the winners, and then the seasons and our last question. So for Clay, so the rankings for the losing finalists, we have Colby at number 1, Kelly Wigglesworth number 2, Nalia 3, Kim Johnson 4. For me, Clay, I had him only ranked a little bit higher because not like super high, but like I had him ranked higher than other people because like at least Clay like had somewhat of a game. I'm not saying it was like this amazing game. He only lost by 1 jury vote. He did like burn the jury votes he maybe could have tried to get, obviously, but he did also do some jury management of like he got Penny's vote pretty much. I think that one was earned, like how he voted Penny and got her on the jury to vote for him. And so I will give Clay credit for that. So I had him 47th of 79, not like super high, but like, yeah, I don't think he's a great player, but he at least had more game than I'll give him a little bit of credit.
Yeah, I definitely ranked him higher than a lot of the 0 vote finalists that we'd get like later on, who literally just like did nothing and had no chance of winning in any combination. Clay actually, like, it really is crazy how close he was to beating Brian here. Who just like Brian seemed like he was dominating, controlling this entire game, and it just took one other person to flip over, and Clay is the winner of season 5, Thailand instead.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I had him pretty low. I think I had him at like 60. Like my list wasn't complete, but he was definitely on the lower end just because I guess the general vibes were externally people were, didn't like Clay, and then Brian was like the opposite, like from like on the inside kind of thing, where Yeah, I just had him low. I was just going off of vibes at that point of like losing finalists. I mean, I have a whole list here of losing finalists, and he is not up there. He's definitely down there.
Definitely
So,
not.
no,
Yeah.
he's my number one. No, I'm kidding. No, he's
Yeah,
no,
he's down there. He's very down there.
Yeah.
We would never have him up that high. So Clay isn't dead last because everything from Thailand has to be dead last.
and he gets the 5th spot, so it's convenient. 5.
Yeah.
5th, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Clay can be there for now. All right, winner rankings. So our winner rankings as they stand right now: Richard Hatch at number 1, Tina 2, Vesepia at 3, and Ethan at 4. So for me, for Brian, I wanted to focus on like how dominant their gameplay was.
Yeah.
So I did win at 11th out of 47, including the 2-time winners being on there twice. I think for me, like his game was so dominant. The only times he really slipped up in the game itself was like him getting drunk and like almost showing that, showing his cards a little bit. And then obviously he does almost lose to Clay, so that's a mark against him for him not being in the top 10 for me. But I know people are gonna hold him as a person against him in this ranking, which is fine. I tried to put that aside at least for winner rankings. I know I haven't for certain other people that we will talk about in this 1 through 50 journey, like John Raymond in this season. But in this case, at least for winners, I wanted to really uphold that. So I had Brian at 11 out of 47.
Yeah, I think I was actually kind of in a similar boat, Jake, where I don't like him as a person. I don't condone the things he's done. But because we're ranking them as winners, I did have him on the higher end, the higher half, I think. I don't know where, but I should probably put him somewhere else around like the 14 to 16, somewhere around there. Because like he did play a very dominant game. Like he had very few hiccups in the whole game of Survivor out there. But just a terrible person, terrible season. I did also care about like if you won a bad season, I did hold that against you because like if you're on a cast that has terrible game players, like sure you won, that's cool, but like there's other people who have just won on seasons with way better players, so it's like I hold that in higher regards.
Jonathan.
Man, Brian, what in it? This is like I think he's one of the most. I don't even know what to say about him. Like as a winner and as a player, because we've said so much about like okay, shitty person, right? But it's like when you play that cold and calculating of a game, where it's like there's not many winners that you've seen that just literally leisurely walk their way to the end of the game in a scary way, which is like that almost transcends the game into like your personal life, right? And I guess because we talked about how the cast was so up in the air and how it was so just like not a likable season, and him kind of like taking advantage of that, because I think if he was in a crowd of normal people, he would be the weird one. But because he was in a crowd of people that were all weird and he was like, I can hide in this. And he had almost literally no hiccups the whole game. Like his only hiccup was getting drunk and doing that and like and not knowing backstory about certain people. Right. It was like, I guess to have some level of control over that as a game player was like, just, it was just weird to me. I think as a game player and as a winner, it was pretty high, I guess, because of weathering that storm, separating the person aspect of it. But I think, I actually had him really low on my list because I was afraid of like the backlash of people being like, you gave him a high ranking because he's a shitty person. I was like, well, I'm gonna put him low because I'm assuming people were gonna have him low on here. So, but I think realistically, he would be like a nightmare of a player to like go through a game like that, just like strategy wise, being that cold and calculating. Because most winners are kind of, that they run off their they can run off their emotions, or they can, they run off different things to win. But at the time, that was like very kind of like crazy to see someone just walk their way to the end of the season and not have any problems with it whatsoever. So I guess as a winner high, I guess whatever the general consensus is about him as a winner, I will agree with you guys on what you think his placement should be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the rest of the, the panelists for 1 through 50 decided that Brian as a person was not someone they could separate, and so Brian is number 5 on the list. And I'm not shocked by it.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's tough to separate, and so I totally get it. So I'm not going to hold it against people for putting Brian low. So
yeah, and I think especially if you haven't seen the season in a while, also you only think of it in like it gets worse. The longer it's been since you watch it, it somehow is a season that gets worse. So it's like it just keeps getting to a point where you're just like, okay, it has to keep getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower.
Yeah, especially if you looked at like Marquesas and Thailand at the time, it's like people didn't like either season, but like Marquesas is aging like fine wine, and Thailand is like decomposing like a corpse and like just getting like worse and worse. So it's like, all right, the people have spoken, kind of thing. So
yeah,
exactly. All right, so now let's go to our season rankings and our final question. We're gonna go a little over on Survivor Thailand. I'm shocked, but
we found something to talk about.
Yeah. All right, the season rankings. So we have Borneo at number 1, Australian Outback at 2, Marquesas at 3, Africa at 4. For me, Thailand has always been and will always be my least favorite season of Survivor ever. It's 47th out of 47 for me, and just like it's so unlikable. It's so tough to get through, and I dread rewatching it, and I will only rewatch it when I'm rewatching every season. Otherwise, I will avoid it. And if people are jumping around seasons instead of watching it chronologically, I would recommend that they probably, if they ever watch Thailand, just save it for last.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, or just don't. It's not even important to the history of Survivor anymore. So, like, why waste your time?
Yeah. What do you guys have it at?
Yeah, it's my bottom season. It's just it's not good. The best like redeeming like part is Rob choking out Clay in episode 3, and it's sandwiched in between the Ted and Gandhi and stuff. So it's like I can't even say like I'm excited to watch that episode because it's a bad episode.
Yeah.
Right. Jonathan?
It's like, it's like, this season or like Island of the Idols, right? Like it's just the tomatoes at this point of which one's going to get last. But because everyone's putting it last, I think me having it at last as well is appropriate for the season.
Yep. And of course it is going to be dead last again. So number 5 for right now. I'm very confident that it won't stay in the top 10 ever. So
yeah, I'm going to be curious if any season does get worse than it. Like if the general consensus has it, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested because once we get to outside of the top 10, we will at least reveal what like the overall ranking for each season was. But all right, we do have our favorite and least favorite player as well. I did forget to mention that, but yes, favorite players, male and female. All right, my favorite male, I'm going with Rob Zabachnik, but again, it's Thailand, so it's not saying much. But he at least entertained me for 6 episodes. He had the epiphany. He had an arc. Is he a terrible player? Absolutely, but and a dick, yeah, but. I don't know. And in a season of not very entertaining players, I have to give him that. And Helen is my favorite female. Again, she gave me entertainment. So, and her final tribal speech is pretty fun because she's calling out Brian. So, yeah, I would say Rob and Helen for me for favorite players.
Joe, you go.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay, I'll go. I'll go for male. I'm going to give it to Ken you know what? I was rooting for him a lot. As I had said previously in like the beginning of this episode, I think he could do really well in a modern season of Survivor. Like, I actually think that his gameplay and like how he presented himself is very good. I was rooting for him, so I'll give it to him. Female player, you know what? Let's give it to Erin. You know, she's attractive. There was something for me to care about when I was watching the season.
There's something for you to root for.
Yeah. Man, no, I'm turning into Clay here. Okay.
It's like he's an ass man, what they were saying. I was like, what the?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Helen's okay, but I you know, I want to diversify this.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah. You want to diversify your choices a little bit, Joe.
Exactly.
I understand.
Yeah, diversify my portfolio.
Yeah, you got a high standard.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We might have different picks here. Jonathan, favorite male and female?
I'll go with Helen for favorite female. I did like her, and I thought there was I liked enough about her in the game that I was like, okay, like it does make sense why they considered bringing her back maybe at some point. And I think her bright moment seeing her husband. What was her husband's name again?
Jim.
Seeing Jim again, and I was like, okay, like there was something. That was one of the very few bright moments I think in the season. So for females, I'll go with Helen. And for guys, I'll say Ken, because he definitely, to go with Joe's point, I did like the fact that he was trying in certain circumstances, and he did have it in him, I think, to go far. It was just a weird situation of being on the wrong side of the numbers and getting ganged up on. And I think he also had the support of the people at the time too, because it's post 9/11. He's a New York cop, and Helen also said when they were talking to her, she was like, "He's the New York cop, and I'm the suspicious New Englander." And I was like, okay, so that kind of went through my head. I'm like, those are my two picks for male and female.
Yeah. Yeah. Ken getting some love.
Bring him back for season 50.
I think there's a 0.0% chance Jeff acknowledges Thailand's existence. All right, least favorite male and female. All right, I am going with Gandia for female. I know that was controversial when I made my Facebook posts for the seasons initially. I don't like her personality. I haven't liked, she drops a slur on television, and then just I haven't liked her on stuff on RHAP. I feel like none of her jokes really landed for me on interviews she's done. But and then male, I'll go Ted, just because again he did something very terrible. So but I'm sure there's a lot of choices for you guys to pick least favorite. So
Joe, you go.
It's the exact same for me. It's Ted and Gandia. I mean, that moment just alone was pretty bad. It's Gandia's in the right, but yet again, just like you said, I did not like Gandia heading into that moment. So it's already I'm I'm siding with the person I don't like, which is just I just don't want to. It just it starts the season off so bad. Yeah, that it's just I don't know. So yeah, I guess I'd go them. Even though I feel like if that moment doesn't happen, Ted does have some decently fun character moments in it. It's I can tell that if there's a chance that he could have been a fun personality, but because of what happened and what he did early on, I'm not enjoying anything that Ted does now.
Right, exactly.
And he fell for the car curse too.
Yeah.
So car curse is going strong. I say it's a universal sweep. I will say Gandia and Ted. So we don't have to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
Just to get us out of here. And it's a universal sweep. Thailand is.
I was wondering if other names were going to come up, but
I was thinking Xian and Ted, but it's I don't like Xian more in All Stars than in this one. So it's what are you gonna do? It's Thailand.
And I was debating Stephanie Dill just because she was a nothing character, but also I'll stick with Gandia at least. Yeah. So all right, Last
Jake, you look pained. You look like you just went through like the worst thing.
We did, unfortunately.
You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, this lasted way longer than I thought it would. But how did this season contribute to the evolution of Survivor?
Banana etiquette, baby. Banana etiquette.
That could be the episode title. Banana etiquette.
Jonathan?
Okay, so I think the central thing is I think this season forced Jeff to be more of a host.
Yes.
I think that's the big takeaway. And it's like because he's at this point he's done with contestants being like disrespectful. He's done with like the goofing around. He's like, I'm running a tight ship. I'm in charge here. I'm narrating these challenges. I'm running the finale. Like I think that was probably the big takeaway. It was just this whole season was just like a patience test for Jeff to see like how if he was going to stick around or not. Because I'm sure after this he had like multiple moments where he was debating on whether quitting the show or sticking around. And thank God Amazon's good. Because then he was like, all right, finally, we're out of like that 2-season slump where it was just like not fun. So I think as a whole, the most important thing is this made Jeff a better host and spokesperson for Survivor.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. And I'll also say I think it started Survivor kind of testing things out to see what worked and what didn't. Because we got the schoolyard pick, we got a mutiny offer, we got a fake merge. So they were testing things out. And, we're going to continue that with Amazon, with men versus women. We're going to get a pirate theme in Pearl Islands. We're going to get all stars, men versus women again. 2 people getting eliminated immediately in Palau. Like, we're going to get all these different twists.
But done right. Done right,
yes. But like compared to like we got the tribe swap in the last 2 seasons, like that was the first major twist, and then here just really gets the ball rolling on testing things out and testing the formula out, and then Jeff being host, gets him going. So
I think this season would have done really well if it had like a swap after like the first 2 episodes. Like honestly, like if they just like tribe swapped right after episode 2, I think this would have been much better.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, or just 1 episode, so then Tanya could be saved. So
yeah. By the way, shout out Tanya. She's also my MVP for female players.
I'll give
it to her.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes without saying. Tanya gets MVP as well. Just wish we got more of her on the season, but Vanquish Canadian showed her potential. So that's the great thing. But that's it for Thailand. Way longer than we thought it would be, but we did
an hour and 41 minutes.
Hey,
guys.
this is still the shortest episode.
This is still the shortest episode. Yes, indeed. Next week we get to head into good seasons. Jonathan and I are heading to the Amazon for Rob Cisternino, and I'm so excited to talk about what inspired this podcast in the first place with Rob Cisternino and men versus women. And we'll get to talk about it with Mike G and Brandon G. So it's gonna be fun to talk with those guys about Amazon and everything Rob Cisternino does, and whether Jenna Maraska is what our takes on Jenna are gonna be. So but with that, we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.